Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Titus Andronicus, Shakespeare's goriest play, so just so you know, there's going to be some gross stuff talked about today. And we get to hear from Titus Andronicus himself for the last time in Act 3, Scene 1. We'll get to hear from him more throughout the play as we get to the end. But we're almost done with Act 3, Scene 1, which has been the scene of, oh, woe is me. We started out with Titus begging for the lives of his sons who were taken to be executed because they were framed for the murder of Basanius. And then Marcus came in with Lavinia, who they discovered had no hands and no tongue anymore, and they can't see that she's been raped, but they can guess that she's been raped many times. And then we find out that Lucius, his other remaining son, has been banished because he tried to stand up for Marcius and Quintus. So they're all just very sad about things. And then Aaron was like, well, if one of the three of you gives Saturnius your hand, then Titus, your two sons, will be spared. So there was, take my hand, no, take my hand. And then Titus fooled the other two. They were going to find an axe. He had Aaron chop off his hand to send to Saturnius to try to get his sons back. And they had a sort of a nice little moment where they thought that maybe their luck was going to change, but then a messenger came in with the heads of Marcius and Quintus, who have obviously been executed because it's just their heads that are being given, and also Titus's hand back, just to like an extra little dig, like, we just made you cut off your hand and we don't even want it. So yesterday we had Titus just sort of in the throes of misery and wishing that he could be dead at this point because he doesn't know how much worse things can possibly get. And he asks Lavinia to just be sad with him, and they both commiserate with each other, feeding off of each other's woe, that sort of thing, until eventually Marcus Andronicus is like, okay, yes, this is terribly, terribly sad. This is my family too. You're my brother. They were my nephews. But what if we take this grief and turn it into action, turn it into anger? Like, now is the time to be storming about these sorts of things, not just crying about these sorts of things. And Titus starts to laugh. And Marcus is like, why are you laughing now? And Titus says, why? I have not another tear to shed. Besides, this sorrow is an enemy and would usurp upon my watery eyes and make them blind with tributary tears. Then which way shall I find revenge's cave? For these two heads do seem to speak to me and threat me I shall never come to bliss, till all these mischiefs be returned again, even in their throats that have committed them. Come, let me see what task I have to do. You heavy people, circle me about, that I may turn me to each one of you and swear unto my soul to right your wrongs. The vow is made. Come, brother, take a head, and in this hand the other will I bear. And Lavinia, thou shalt be employed in these things. Bear thou my hand, sweet wench, between thy teeth. As for thee, boy, go, get thee from my sight. Thou art an exile, and thou must not stay. Hie to the Goths, and raise an army there. And if you love me, as I think you do, let's kiss and part, for we have much to do. So this is a bit of a turning point for Titus. He's getting through the grief into the anger, into the acceptance, into the wanting revenge, which is sort of what this whole play is about. They just keep wanting revenge on each other, and it just keeps getting worse every time that they have to do it. So, at the beginning of this, he's saying, if I cry anymore, then I'm not going to be able to find my way to what I need to do. And the fact that they just sent my two sons' heads means I have to take action now at this point. So, we are the ones that have been wronged. Let me look at each of you so I can get a catalog of what has been wronged so I can figure out a way to right it. And remember, they're not necessarily in Rome or near their house right now. Titus was sort of following the procession that was taking his sons to be executed. So oftentimes this is staged at a crossroads in the middle of nowhere or something like that. But they do need to get sort of home. So he gives Marcus, one of his son's heads to carry. He carries the other son's head, and he has Lavinia carry his hand in her teeth so they can take all of these body parts home with them. And he says to Lucius, I'm sorry, but you have to go because you've been banished, so you can't stay here. But what you should do is go to the Goths and raise an army and then bring that army back to destroy Rome. So that's sort of a running theme in Shakespearean plays, is a wronged soldier goes to the enemy and tries to raise an army there to bring it back. We actually just saw this in Timon of Athens. We saw it in Coriolanus, all that sort of thing. So anyway, now it's Lucius, Titus' son Lucius, who's been tasked with going and teaming up with the Goths so that they will be able to get their revenge on Rome. And at this point, Marcus and Lavinia and Titus all leave to go home, and we've got one more monologue in Act 3, Scene 1 from Lucius. He has a brief moment on the stage by himself tomorrow that we will get to hear before we're done with Act 3, Scene 1. But anyway, come on back tomorrow to hear from somebody other than Titus. That'll be fun. I'll see you then. Mwah.